And welcome. I think we're live.
We should be live.
should be live. Technically, it says that
We
we're
are
live.
live.
We're live. There we go. There we go.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay, hold on. But like,
welcome to
let's just assume that we're
take
live.
4.
5,
Take
6,
5,
7, 8. This is a long time coming
Yeah.
because YouTube Live is very complicated compared to the other live things like Facebook Live, which is very simple. Periscope is generally pretty easy to navigate, although the quality is kind of crap.
Yeah.
But YouTube Live sends you through this whole thing, and finally we got it.
We got it. If you don't know us, I am Tristan Damol. I'm the coordinating editor at the Link newspaper. This is Harrison Milora Jason.
Howdy.
He is the online sports editor at the Link newspaper. And if you don't know what this is about, no one's watching us, but
Yeah.
we'll
Let's
just
explain.
do
Yeah.
like if people are watching
Sure,
us,
sure,
because
sure.
this might stay on.
This might very well.
We're still not sure. But this is
The pilot. Let's go.
this is a pilot.
This is
This
the
is
pilot.
a dry run. This is a test. For now we're calling it PBHT.5,
Yeah.
where we do we're doing stuff live. We don't know when this would be. We don't know how this is gonna materialize.
Yeah.
But I have this little thing of. This is getting me a little aggravated.
It's fine.
Okay,
It's fine.
There you go. It feels weird because we're like it's
So
this is very new, very we're not sure what the fuck is going
this
on,
is
and we
about-
can definitely
yeah.
swear.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We're doing something live. That's fucking
Yeah.
weird. That's
So
weird.
the idea
We're
is
trying something
so-
as a former
Yeah.
writer comes into the office.
former writer, sort of friend of the
So
newspaper. So we already have a podcast that comes out every single week called the Pressbox Hat Trick, and we decided that there are some things on the Pressbox Hat Trick that, since there are some things on PBHT that we can't always talk about because we don't have enough time, we would have another half episode, a mini episode, that we would,
that was nicely done.
that we would kind of formulate differently. Maybe do something live, do something, not necessarily in podcast form, where we'd get to talk about those things that we don't get to talk about during our regular recording.
Yeah, so we're definitely still gonna try and talk about Stingers related stuff, local stuff, and also stuff that touches our mandate.
And not only our mandate, my mandate as a sports editor, but this will also be a time to talk about Concordia news if there's anything relevant enough, and occasionally maybe have a live interview.
Maybe, but we're far, far away
We
from
just
that.
figured out how to use this software, so
Let's not give them any credit, but also get forward and talk in the mic.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about doing event critiquing and
Yes.
talking about commentary on sports related stuff.
Yes.
But also do a little bit of media critiquing and talk about
Absolutely.
the stuff that we like or don't like
Yeah.
coming in. And I feel like that's where we should start.
Sure.
Going into stuff that should we start by actually sharing this?
I think that'd be a good place to start. Are
Okay,
we sharing?
let's.
So you are the sharing expert. So
Let's
I will
share.
defer.
Let's share. Man, this is scary. This is scary.
This
I've
is
never done anything
all
live.
new
Although
territory.
I did do some of the stuff live.
Oh, you did the
I-
SBI stuff live after the Impact Games, right?
Yeah,
Those
I
were
mean
always
that
Facebook
was
Live.
with Kevin Laramie, which shout out to him on the Sports Podcasting
Yes.
Network, which that's kind of what he's all about. We kind of do the live kind of 15-minute post-game discussions,
which we should do at the link too.
Okay, I'm actually gonna share this on Twitter.
Yeah, sure.
This
that's a
is
safer space.
very scary.
Yeah.
I am not.
But how are we going to share this? Because I can't even get the link.
Pressbox Hat Trick. It should be live.
Maybe on your computer, but not on this one.
Maybe. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Pressbox Hat Trick. Oh,
There you go.
so it doesn't show that we're live.
Oh,
there we go.
we are.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
I don't know why it's
So
not doing it on my thing.
there we go. There's obviously a delay.
That's fine. Yeah, a couple seconds.
And okay, that is very, very scary. Okay, so they're gonna see me actually tweeting.
Tweet, yeah.
So
This is Tristan
we're
tweeting.
we're trying something out with hashtag PBHT. It's definitely
A work in progress.
it's definitely a test run.
Yes, this is definitely a test run.
Definitely a test run.
Brandon's going to be on our test run. Brandon, come around. You are live
But
to exactly 0 people.
If you'd like
Brandon, former editor-in-chief
to
here at the Link.
follow
Yeah.
live,
Technology.
Yeah. See? We have this.
that's what university is all about. Just testing a bunch of shit.
And learning.
And maybe that's not gonna work, and maybe that's the only time we're gonna do this ever.
Oh, no, this time I feel like this is...
Maybe.
And there's Brandon.
All right, so
Fading out.
tweet.
Oh my god, it just happened.
So it just happened. We're probably not gonna have some. So that's very weird. That's very, very, very weird. So yeah. So but it's probably gonna stay on the YouTube page.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I'm probably gonna like have to repeat a bunch of times what this is all about. But anyways, I did want to start and talk about some things that mattered to me today, sports-wise. It actually happened today, but I think we can extend that to like this week.
Yeah, sure. And you know what? We'll probably do an episode of this on Friday. This is really a dry one.
So let's talk about Bucknell University.
Yeah, man.
So Bucknell University do you know where it's located?
Bucknell, if I'm not mistaken, it's in New York. Bucknell University. I mean, we are in front of a bunch of computers.
Okay, so Bucknell University's men's
New Jersey. Oh, in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So
in Lewisburg.
So Bucknell University's men's and women's swimming team. I do have swimming kind of close to my heart, but today is a very sad day for swimming. 2 swimmers were suspended by the university. The men's and the women's swimming team were put on probation. And bear in mind, the men's team was already on a 2-year probation. They just got out of a 2-year probation.
And was it a recruiting violation the first time? Or
what I don't know what it was the first time. I should probably check that out. But again, we're live, and I don't know. So, mistakes made. I should have made the research beforehand.
This is all new territory.
That being said, so according to the press release, so what I think is, I guess, those are violations. That's fine. Teams participated in an event in which underage members were given alcohol. That's, I can give that a pass. What I can't give a pass, though, and that I was talking with you earlier today, that's reminiscent of the Harvard men's soccer team.
Yeah.
The men's team has a tradition, quote, of circulating among themselves a lewd, sexist, and misogynistic email chain. This is very reminiscent of what happened over at Harvard, where they would, the men's team would give I think it was like an awards show, where it would be like...
it was like a top 10 hottest this, hottest that, about like the women's team or some garbage like that.
And it would also be kind of, what do you say? Like they would give like
awards, basically.
Like most likely to whatever.
Yeah. But I think it was all things that were like sexual in nature.
So, unacceptable. This is ridiculous. I mean, having been in swimming locker rooms, I can definitely attest that there is kind of like that pressure. Especially when I think swimming is one of those sports. Well, it's one of the only sports where most of the body is uncovered. Yeah. So you kind of like there's no way of hiding, and also like most of the guys are already like ultra built.
Yeah. And
they kind of expect the same out of like the women, which is like fucked to begin with.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's crazy. And in nowhere in my swimming career have I ever been either. You know, we were talking about we're gonna have a consent workshop.
Yeah.
Like Friday.
A couple Fridays.
Never have I never was I talked about these things.
Yeah.
And especially for teens growing up and you know,
and this is the type of thing that will make people, and especially in this case, especially women, not want to swim. Because if you know that that's the thing that you're subject to, and it's maybe not, if you know that this is something that you risk being subject to, like, I don't know, that would make me not want to do it if I know that this is the type of treatment that I'm going to get from people that are supposed to be on the same side as me, right? They're supposed to be like my team, my school, whatever. If I know that they're going to be judging me based off of my appearance in a way that is, as you said, so what's the quote, lewd, sexist, and misogynistic, or whatever that was.
Yeah, that's from the press release,
yeah,
which is
that's just
quite ridiculous,
super fucked up. And I mean that's something where I always like when these things are given big sanctions, probations, whatever. But this is something where you have to go look at the coach, and you have to go look at the administrators within the athletic department and say, well, there's a lack of institutional control here. Let's actually let's punish the people that are doing this, but let's punish the people that are not doing a good enough job of investigating these situations as they're happening. And obviously, these are things that are ongoing. If it's literally a tradition, that means that this might have gone through a couple coaching staffs, right? And that's, yeah.
So, quote from the director of athletics and recreation. This conduct is particularly frustrating given that it comes during a period of unprecedented educational initiatives for members of both teams. Despite this disappointing set of events, we remain committed on our ongoing efforts to educate more than 700 student athletes of leadership and personal values. This is like the most PR quote I've ever seen in my life. And looking at the press release, I think they're focusing more on the underage drinking than they are on what I personally think is the most sexual harassment, sexual violence.
Yeah.
I mean, sexual violence, I feel like, is a bit like.
Oh, this is sexual violence. Not all sexual violence is physical. I think
that's very true.
I think, and especially we just wrote that editorial.
Yeah, definitely.
A couple days ago about some like not exactly this, but about something that is very much related to this, and this would be something where funding and things like that aside, like these athletic department, even if it's Bucknell and it's not a school that has this huge athletic department, this is still an athletic department that is worth a lot of money, that has a lot of resources, and this is the type of thing that you have to look into the maybe cultural factors within the like the culture of like the athletic culture within the school to see like how is this thing happen, how is this thing continuing to happen if it's a tradition. That means that people once upon a time thought that this was funny or cool or intelligent or clever, and then the next year they thought the same thing, and through all those years no one stepped in and said, hey, that's fucked up, that's not funny, that's bad. And that's a question of culture within your athletic department. Same thing at Baylor, same thing at any time that something like this happens within an athletic department, which is more often than we probably realize or care to realize, let's say.
Yeah.
This is something that happens a lot, and I think that it points to the overall culture within the athletic department. Yeah.
Did you? I mean, you've played sports. You've played sports,
yeah,
right?
You've
played football. I mean, I was in the swimming team, and the interesting aspect of a swimming team is it's for all intents and purposes a mixed team.
Sure.
I remember I was like it was men and women were practicing in the same groups, right?
Yeah.
And I can totally attest to that. I can totally attest to the fact that some people back in when I was swimming totally found these like super funny and like super
They probably think it's a way
and I honestly don't think that this has changed.
Yeah, no, they probably think it's a way to stay entertained within the locker room setting. It's like, oh, well, long swim meet, we're kind of bored. We've been here for 6-7 hours. Like, how are we going to entertain ourselves? Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about each other's bodies in a way that is very, very, talk about each other's bodies, period. And anytime you do that, especially in a judgmental way, and maybe in a sexist or lewd or whatever type of way, like it's not funny, and people have to be able to realize that. But I mean, I can see where these things come from, and I can see how these things are looked over. Like if your athletic department, if your team is running smoothly, like you're not going to bat an eye, and that's also part of the problem.
Anything regarding that you would like to add?
Go read our editorial. We kind of talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good shameless plug. Like it is still somewhat Xbox Hat Trick, and we're all about shameless plugs.
And we put it out yesterday.
Yeah, it was out on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you can definitely check that out.
And that's the third dimension thing, whatever that you guys always talk about. This is live. So we can say yesterday because there's no, this isn't recorded.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like on a podcast where, this is coming out Wednesday, but we're recording Monday. Yeah, you can go check it. It was out yesterday.
I mean, some people try to make it seem like it's live. Like I've been on shows that hosts literally told me, this is Saturday or this is Friday. We're not Wednesday. Yeah. So, and
we're a little bit more transparent.
We're gonna try to edit around if ever you say that, but
Yeah.
No, but sometimes you gotta play the game, right?
I don't think
So other thing that I was particularly interested in today is that it was announced. I think today. I mean, I personally didn't know it was a thing until this afternoon when they announced the actual national championship. Men's rugby is a U Sports sport now.
So I actually was not aware that it wasn't. But
yeah.
And the reason I thought this is because every single time that I was going to look at rugby scores, I'd always go on the RICQ site, and I just figured that if it's RICQ, it's got to be under the larger umbrella of CIS/U Sports.
So context. Some schools, or I should say U Sports, only has a set from what I knew, and maybe that has changed, and I'm currently trying to figure that out. There are a certain number of sports that U Sports can have.
Yeah.
And men's rugby wasn't part of it. Women's rugby was, but men's rugby was not.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason that men's rugby, or that rugby in general, wouldn't be part of it is rugby is kind of a complicated sport to have in, because there's rugby sevens, rugby nines, all the different types of rugby that are there, and it's tough to have a unified league where it's this is just rugby. There are probably some things to
Oh, there you go. I found something that's quite interesting, and we would definitely have to stop and re-record, but fuck it.
Too late now.
The tournament is not officially recognized or sanctioned by U Sports, yet they're making a men's rugby championship. That is.
So there's gonna be two different.
That is very weird.
So it's gonna be a Champions League, FA Cup final type situation.
I don't know. That's interesting. The organizing committee is hopeful, quote, the organizing committee is hopeful that in time both the tournament and the sport of men's rugby will be sanctioned by U Sports in the same way that women's rugby and its national championship is. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Context. The head of U Sports, the CEO, Graham Brown, used to be the head of Rugby Canada. So I think, and that's where it kind of lines up, is that if you track back in the archives of the linknewspaper.ca, you're going to find an interview that I had with Graham Brown 2 years ago when he was named CEO. And I actually asked him that question because he was still the CEO of Rugby Canada. And I legitimately asked him, I was like, do you think that... See ya.
Later.
Do you think that U Sports is going to add men's rugby, or are you going to push to have men's rugby back into the mix of U Sports or into the mix of U Sports?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, for now, there's not much that I can do because there's a certain number of sports that you can add. And basically to add men's rugby, you'd have to take away another sport. So you'd have to take away, I don't know, Whatever, like
How many sports do they
swimming or
have?
something.
Why would there be a quota on sports? That's ridiculous.
That's another good question. But what Graham Brown told me a couple years ago is that he could look into adding more sports and changing the rules in order to add sports without taking them away.
And that probably indicates that this was a question of format when it came to rugby. Probably they couldn't reach a consensus on if rugby's in youth sports. We don't want to have rugby sevens and rugby league and rugby whatever. So we have to find the one that we.
Because the thing is, 15s rugby on the women's side is part of youth sports, and
rugby,
there's a national championship.
But how about rugby sevens though? And is rugby sevens a popular thing on the women's side? That's the question.
That is a good question. Rugby sevens is definitely
more exciting.
It's exciting, but if you ask rugby people, they're gonna say that it's not as the whole of rugby as rugby. And I guess I understand a little bit. It's different. The games are very short. You can play like 3 or 4 games in one day.
It must be. Well, my first recap at the link was the rugby sevens tournament.
Exactly.
But,
rugby players play rugby sevens. Alex Tessier and Fred Rajat and Janet Thompson, I think. Have all played rugby sevens.
No,
the Stingers all play rugby sevens as well.
And this might be the sort of thing where you see the difference between like American and Canadian football, where it's like maybe the fact there's less players is kind of the same thing as having less downs. So like the game is like faster paced. There's like more turnover, offense, defense. Maybe. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a good direct parallel or comparison.
But this tournament is rugby 15s.
Okay.
And so they're holding it. As if it was a sanctioned tournament, yet the tournament is not officially sanctioned. So it's going
to be the unofficial youth sports champions.
There's a lot of question marks because I tweeted that youth sports is now having men's rugby, which I like. That press release kind of fucks up my tweet.
And you think that
weird.
And you think that rugby would be an easy one because all schools have rugby. Like, I can't think of a school off the top of my head that's like, no rugby team, right?
I mean,
Well, okay, like you can, but like the ones that have sizable athletic departments will have a rugby team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I do. That's very weird.
Yeah,
I have a lot of questions. We're gonna
have to investigate that a little bit. Yeah.
Here, there's a quote from Graham Brown. Rugby Canada is one of the top organizations in our country, which is kind of weird because like he was part of Rugby Canada. Anyways, that's like my impressions, but I guess he has good intel as to like he knows Rugby Canada.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't know all the other ones, but sure.
Growing the number of sports that growing the number of sports that have that opportunity to compete for U Sports National Championship is an important part of my vision. That's what I was talking about. For elevating university sport in Canada, although U Sports is not officially involved with this project, Rugby Canada has the support of U Sports, and I anticipate the success of this event. So I need to change my tweet right now.
Yeah, or update it, like start a thread.
It will be similar to successful events as the National University Championships hosting by Tennis Canada and Golf Canada. Yeah. So I was factually incorrect, is what I'm realizing.
You didn't know better.
I did not know better.
That's okay. And then U Sports deleted their tweet about it, so that's kind of freaking shady.
That's probably why they deleted their tweet, though.
They were confused about their own initiative. Now, wouldn't that be U Sports as hell?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So
I don't know. That kind of fucks me up. I really thought that he that Graham Brown. I definitely do want to talk about.
And we should do a larger investigation into like sports that are not U Sports, but where there's enough to have like a league. And we're gonna ask the figure skating people at McGill tomorrow about this.
Yeah, but like, are you gonna have a figure skating league?
If there's enough schools for it, why not?
But you have tournaments. But I don't know if a league is.
Look, baseball. Baseball's not U Sports.
Baseball is not U Sports. That's true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
So, did you see the Jamel Hill thing from today?
I did not see the Jamel Hill
thing
from
so
today.
Jamel Hill made a comment about Donald Trump, and let's pull it up.
Did you?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Speak up.
Pull it up onto just type Jamel Hill. It's like the biggest story that's going on. Like it was a big deal, And then Sarah Huckabee Sanders was like, "That's a fireable offense." You saw that, didn't you?
Yeah,
you saw that.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Definitely going.
So yeah.
So she called Donald Trump a white supremacist on ESPN.
Yeah, and so Jason Concepcion at Network, who's like, everyone should follow him. Trump, white supremacy is good. White supremacist. Trump is a white supremacist. Jamel Hill, I agree. ESPN, whoa. I mean, like, yeah. But Jamel Hill is a racist that should be fired, but Donald Trump isn't. Oh, okay. I thought this was a serious tweet. All right.
So, what is actually going to happen to Jamel Hill? Is my question.
I hope Jamel Hill is given like a Nobel Peace Prize or something.
Okay.
That'd be cool. She's been a pretty consistent, even though she went to Michigan State. She's been a pretty consistent journalist that's been doing nothing but good stuff on and off the air, like for.
I love how
many years now? Like
I do love how when sports journalists do anything that's not sports, I feel like they get the most thunder. You know how like Keith Olbermann had this show.
Oh my god! But Keith Olbermann's been saying a bunch of weird. Like, okay, I like his takes recently.
He's good at just calling out a bunch of shit.
Yeah, but also he's a fairly competent baseball historian, and that actually means something because there are some baseball historians that are stupid. But no, so Jamel Hill has and she's had controversial takes in the past, right? Wait, she didn't get fired, did she?
No, okay, that's just it's just like because we're looking at Twitter, and Twitter has this tendency of being really overreacting.
Jump the gun. Yeah. So this is kind of sad that people would then call her out on it. I don't know if ESPN has since made a statement. Have they? I'm uncertain about that. If it's like
we're definitely not gonna find this on Twitter.
No. Right now, Twitter is no.
If you do want to go continue on,
but yeah, no, I think that like good job, Jamel Hill, for saying that. I think that if it happened to be a white journalist, this would have been like, oh well, let's have a conversation about is Trump a white supremacist. But since it's a black journalist, like whoa, you should be fired for saying that. And then a politician had to jump in and say you should be fired for saying that, which is fucked up, like absolutely crazy. Like that's not Sarah Huckabee Sanders' job to fucking say like, yeah, Jamel Hill, sports journalist, should be fired for calling Trump a white supremacist, which he is, but that's besides the point. I think at this stage, like, poor Jamel Hill. This is like something that I'm sure she was just trying to, she was trying to have a stance on something that's pretty important, and then
okay, so from
ESPN
20 hour.
Wow.
So that's okay.
ESPN has oh my god.
So ESPN, the comments on Twitter from Jamel Hill regarding the president do not represent the position of ESPN. We have addressed this with Jamel, and she recognizes her actions were inappropriate.
For fuck's sake.
That's coming from ESPN PR.
Oh my
at
god.
Is that today?
Oh.
Are we September 12th?
Okay,
so that was yesterday.
Oh,
God.
That.
Well, that's disappointing.
That is extremely disappointing. Oh, Alex, get in this.
Wait up. I thought it was on the air.
On the air, on Twitter?
It's on Twitter.
If anything, that doesn't change anything. She still said it. That's still
she did. Opinion. Well, she did still say it, but like, come on.
Okay, so what did she say? Scroll down.
Okay, so let's
Trump is the most ignorant, offensive president of my lifetime. His rise is a direct result of white supremacy. Period. He has surrounded himself with white supremacists. No, they are not alt-right. And you want me to believe he isn't a white supremacist? Dang.
He is unqualified and unfit to be president. He is not a leader, and if he were not white, he never would have been elected. Yeah. All right.
So
on that
note,
do we want to add anything? I guess you want to go over the Stingers games.
Oh, sure, we can do that.
To kind of like finalize that. Also, like, there's a bunch of other stuff that we're not going to talk about.
But this is the first run. So.
Like Jacques Chapdelaine was fired by the Alouettes.
We'll do this Friday.
And then there was a whole language debate about it.
We'll expand.
Montreal has a new flag, which is nice.
Does it?
Yeah.
I did not realize that. Okay, so games this weekend. The Stingers are playing in a bunch of games. I'm not going to include the baseball ones, though, because I'm not going to include the baseball ones. Nothing against baseball. Just I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to include them. So soccer, has a
Soccer's playing Laval
They're playing 2
doubleheader
games.
at home, which is
Yeah, so soccer is playing
gonna be a
Friday
tough one.
and Sunday. So against Laval at home, and then at the Septum.
At the Carabin.
Yep, against
Yeah,
Université
that could be a 0 out of 6 point situation.
Women's hockey is playing 3 times. I think they're playing 3 days in a row. So
Yeah, it's 3 exhibition games.
So against Brock
preseason
on Friday, against
York
on Saturday, and against Queens on Sunday.
All right, and then you got men's and women's rugby having their opening home opener.
Yeah.
Let's just call it like that. September 17th, so that's Sunday. Women's playing Carleton, and the men's playing ETS, l'École de Technologie Supérieure.
The Piranhas, apparently.
The Piranhas, which in their first season,
couldn't they have been the Engineers or the?
They beat the reigning champion Concordia Stingers in the first round of the playoffs.
But couldn't they call themselves the Engineers or something a little bit more clever?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's not up to me.
Hey Brian, get over it.
It's not up to me. So I think we've done over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's
a good start.
fair.
That's a good start.
So
this
yeah,
was so complicated, but you know what? At least we got it.
Thanks for coping with us.
Yeah.
On this dry run of whatever this is.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll have a better idea of what we want to do
by Friday.
By not Friday. Let's not give any timelines.
Okay. By soon.
By sometime.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know what the real good thing about this is?
What?
Is we know how to work a live stream now.
And we have to write it down now. Like we have to keep this within the walls of the link. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's keep it on the very experimental for now.
Yeah.
So on that note, I was Tristan, he was Harrison, and we'll hear you all next time, or we'll see you all next time. I can say it now because we're not just podcast. So yeah, so how do we end this?
You have to go back and you got end stream.
And stop streaming. Bye.